All right, and a good evening to all of you. It is just before 11 o'clock here on Saturday, March 28th. I am forecaster Nick Dunn here. We are tracking a line of severe thunderstorms coming through east central Indiana right now into the Muncie area. We have a severe thunderstorm warning until, I believe that is 11. Actually, got one now for Henry County. Back-to-back warnings there until 11:15 for Delaware County, 11:45 for Henry County in east central Indiana. And Owen and Brant were watching this has become a Boeing structure. Owen, you were mentioning that you're seeing some things there, and we're looking at a pretty strong gust of wind at the very least. I wouldn't be surprised if we get something a little bit more than that.
Yeah, we also have a new severe thunderstorm warning for Blackford and Jay counties as well until 11:30. So it's starting to crank up there. And from our perspective, I don't know, it's starting to tighten up just a little bit near Eaton. So we're keeping an eye on that one as it starts to move off to the northeast. And we'll have to wait and see. I mean, strong winds really with these storms is pretty much the name of the game right now. But like I said earlier, one or two of these storms potentially could spin up a quick tornado. So I have to keep an eye on that here as we go through the next few scans. But I am trying to look at some of the other warnings there that they've issued. So bear with me just a second. We're starting to see the big line charge off to the northeast. So we'll start to see that approach our area, Cincinnati, Dayton area here shortly as well. But two areas.
To add, Owen, sorry to interrupt you. They've put a tornado. They put a tornado possible. They put a tornado possible tag on that Jay and Blackford County storm.
Doesn't surprise me. I was trying to find that actually, so that doesn't surprise me whatsoever on that one.
Owen kind of alluded to this earlier, but those of you in Blackford and Jay County, which those of you are over on our Miami Valley page, this may impact most, and eventually those of you that know meteorologist Kyle Adams, his area could get in on some of this activity, so we may try to get him in here as well for some additional perspective if he is available. He's been going and dealing with some things, so we'll see what we can do there. But a very strong line of thunderstorms. It looks like the lightning has actually increased over the last little bit. And the thing that stuck out to me most is we have a little bit of a Boeing structure here, Brant, coming through Muncie. And that apex of the bows where we could see some of those strongest winds. And they do have it right now moving northeast at about 50 with winds up to 70 miles per hour. I think that's a pretty good potential with the structure that's given there.
Yeah, and this particular storm, you were watching it for about 30 minutes when it was in north central Indiana. It had a few severe thunderstorm warnings on it, and those were allowed to be expired. And then the storm kind of was in its phase where, like, you know, it doesn't know really what it wants to do, and then it's got its act together now as it's headed further east, knocking on the Ohio border right now. But Nick, I agree with you that that's not the only spot we're watching, though. We're also watching southern Indiana, those storms approaching Cincinnati in the next few hours. Definitely a lot of wind and hail with this, and there's a chance of a tornado, as you mentioned.
And new warnings now just issued for Belmont, Harrison, Jefferson, Brook, Marshall, and Ohio counties until 11:45. So we got another round of
Oh, that's to the east again.
Yeah, so things are starting to fire up just a little bit again. Let's go take a look at that. This is an area that really doesn't need any more thunderstorm activity. There are numerous water rescues going on in Licking County. There are numerous water rescues going on across much of eastern Ohio and into the West Virginia Panhandle. Boy, this one has got quite an interesting structure to it on the backside, coming through Fairview.
And that
go
is
ahead.
Tagged tornado possible as well.
Yeah,
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, that one is tagged tornado possible. I can get it, Owen, if you...
Yeah, I'm...
All right. Yeah, I got it.
Yep. That's kind of where we are right now, so let's kind of do just a quick little reset. Again, we have multiple severe thunderstorm warnings just within the last 15 minutes. We do have two of them that contain that text saying tornado possible. One of those is over into Belmont County, southern Jefferson County, southern Harrison County, and then over into portions of Hancock, Ohio, and Marshall counties in West Virginia, and then even into Pennsylvania. Very large polygon. This storm, I think, being where it is at, it is somewhat isolated. It's also on the southern end of a complex, so we can sometimes see these storms have a little bit more of their own environment. They kind of like to do what they want when they're kind of isolated like this, or on the end of a line. They can sometimes act in some different ways, so we'll watch that closely. Let's go to velocity here on this one. as I'm sure we should be getting some of our audience members from the Mid-Ohio Valley in here very soon if we haven't already. There is some broad rotation here, I'd say, coming over into Flushing, north of Belmont. I do think the worst of this will likely stay out of Barnesville, and the worst of this will probably come down towards Belmont and St. Clairsville. You already have flash flood warnings in effect, so just keep that in mind. A lot of very heavy rainfall, a lot of lightning, and this one really is intensified. I went back, looked at the different radar off screen here, and that one's intensified over the last little bit as well. We weren't even watching over here about 15, 20 minutes ago, so kind of a different area of interest at this time. I'm not seeing, I don't know, the terminal radar from Pittsburgh I don't think is going to reach that far. I'll take a look real quick, but I don't think it does. I was looking for another perspective, and, well, actually it does. And we're not seeing much on the terminal Doppler out of Pittsburgh, at least from what I can see. So track on this one, though, taking it off here towards the east, and that is going to be coming through Flushing and Martins Ferry. Warning goes to 11:45, by the way. We've also got Yorkville, Titans,ville, Bethany, Claysville, and Bethel Park, and then it begins to move on into Pennsylvania pretty much by 11:45. Still moving pretty quick. They've got this one moving at about 50 miles per hour. Not as fast as some of our storms earlier today, but still a pretty decent clip. And again, that tornado possible, that means you should probably treat this as a tornado warning. There's not enough really right now from the Weather Service that they would issue a tornado warning, but they are watching some things within the inner parts of the storm, looking at velocity and some other radar products to where they could issue a tornado warning at any time. So those of you, again, this includes Wheeling. That's a very decently populated community. Go ahead and get indoors, stay away from windows, and we'll watch this closely. Let's bounce back over to eastern Indiana real quick. We'll have to kind of bounce back and forth just a little bit. We got Blackford and Jay and Delaware and Henry counties, and I would imagine very soon we should get one for Randolph County. You can see the yellow boxes that are blinking, yellow and orange. Those are severe thunderstorm warnings. The solid green outline boxes are the flash flood warnings. We've got a plethora of those tonight. That's definitely not going anywhere anytime soon. And it looks like over the last couple of scans, Brant, this may have weakened just a little bit east of Muncie, but still looking at a pretty decent potential. Looks like there's a lot of wind coming in from the backside, and that may help to kind of aid the potential for some damaging winds to reach the surface.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of teeter-tottering right now, for lack of a better term, of intensity right now. It's, as I said, it was warned back in central northern Indiana, just above Indianapolis, or actually right over the city. And it kind of fell apart, and then it got its act together again, and we may be in the, again, we're in a radar dead zone here, so it might be hard to get a clear view of what's going on, Nick. I mean, we're pretty much a little ways away from Indianapolis, and we're a long ways away from Wilmington at this point. So we're, lack of a radar coverage is going to be an issue here in terms of just seeing what it looks like on radar. I think it's still there, but I think it is a little bit weaker than what it was just a few minutes ago. I think it's going through its cycles and trying to find out, where it wants to go. So.
Yeah, that's a good point with that. Owen, are you seeing anything else? I haven't seen anything else from the Weather Service on this one right now. Are you seeing anything?
And I don't know which one exactly you're on, Nick. Hopefully you can hear me okay. I switched over to my real microphone instead of my phone, but I'm keeping an eye close to the one in Ken's area, or the Mid-Ohio Valley in Flushing, because that one continues to exhibit some parameters there that are interesting, to say the least. Definitely is some broad rotation, and it's tightening up just a bit. So I'm keeping a very close eye on that one. I have not focused my energy too much over in the Indiana one, but this one near Flushing, again, to exhibit those signs of some rotation. So definitely, if you're in that area, make sure that you are seeking shelter. Flushing, Freeport, Cadiz, anywhere in those areas, make sure that you're indoors and prepared that it possibly could go into a tornado warning. I'm not saying that at this point, but wouldn't be surprised. Based on what I'm seeing here. So we'll have to wait and see what happens here in the next scan or two. I know that there's another warning that was just issued for, Randolph County, in Indiana. That goes until... Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, so I'm watching both of these. I'm kind of split screening just like you are right now, Nick. But I'm, concerned on this one over there for Ken's area, if you will. Sorry.
Yeah, in fact, let's go ahead and focus back over there. So where Owen is watching right now is right along and just to the north of the I-70 corridor in Belmont County. I do think this may eventually kind of come into Wheeling. Again, a very decently populated area. There's also a casino there, although I imagine it's closed at this point. Some different traffic patterns there too. So if you're out traveling, if you can, maybe go south a little bit, and then if you can come back north once this passes, because I wouldn't be surprised if there's some larger hail falling. The Weather Service has this warned for quarter-size hail, but we've seen some hail cores like this today produce much larger hail, so just be prepared for that. If you're in Wheeling and you're watching, get your car out of the elements if possible. Tiltonsville as well, maybe even Moundsville. We'll see if it dives far enough south. I don't think it will, but maybe just out of a precaution, maybe want to kind of get your car out of the elements if you possibly can. Also looking at St. Clairsville, Belmont, over towards Adena, Wellsburg, and then eventually Valley Grove, and then finally crosses the border into Pennsylvania. So again, we're watching this one very closely. Velocity, yeah, we're starting to see some of the reds pick up just a little bit. This is what Owen was just talking about, southwest of Flushing, south of Holloway, just a couple miles north of the I-70 and US 40 corridors. Just for reference, 70 and 40, they cross each other several times across eastern Ohio, but this is kind of where we're watching. We can put a track on just this part of the storm. Again, they have it moving east at 50. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I heard that.
No,
Tornado.
what that is there was a tornado possible tag for Randolph's what that's saying.
Okay, so we have.
I think so. I gotta check.
I don't have it on my end.
Okay, yeah, we'll take a look at that one in just a second.
Well,
no, tornado warning. Tornado warning, guys. We got a tornado warning.
Oh, there you go. Oh, there it is. Sorry.
Yep,
That's what it was.
Yep.
So that is over. Yeah, there we go. So there's a
County.
tornado warning for Jay County in Indiana. So we're looking at that one. I'll read the text real quick. So the severe thunder, the tornado warning is for southern Jay County and east central Indiana. It goes until 11:30. At 11:05, the National Weather Service is tracking a storm capable of producing a tornado over Red Key, moving east at 60, northeast at 60 miles an hour, I should say. Radar indicated rotation. This storm will be on the south side of Portland around 11:20. So make sure that you seek shelter at this point. If you're in there, get to the lowest level of your house and seek shelter at this time. Put as many walls between you and the outside as possible and cover your neck and head. So we do have again, if you're just joining us, a new tornado warning for central Indiana, east central Indiana, for southern Jay County, and we're watching this here very closely, Nick.
Yeah, I've got our tornado precaution safety up on the screen here. If one of you want to update the video text, if we could do that.
I can do Ohio News and Weather. I'm there right now.
Okay, yep, that's fine.
I was going to say, or just shut it down and start an Owen.
No, we got a good amount of people in here right now, so we're in good shape.
Okay.
Brant, I know I cross-posted this onto your page too, so you might want to edit the text there. So, as Owen is alluding to, for tornado warning safety, lowest level, best place we would like to see in a basement or getting below ground if possible. If you can't get there, bathroom, closet, room with no windows in the center of your house. Put as many walls between you and the outside, and then, of course, take something to your place of safety to protect yourself from flying debris, a helmet, a mattress, a sofa cushion, pillows, whatever the case may be, and just make sure that's covering your body. Make sure you use the same protection for your children. If you can't, just make sure you kind of huddle over them. That way they are staying safe and being protected from that debris as well. Right. So that's kind of where things stand. Yeah, go ahead, Owen.
The one for the tornado warning near Portland is just coming into the terminal Doppler range for us here in Dayton. And it definitely is there. We definitely can see some good velocity returns on that one. So it is right on the edge. We'll have a better picture of this as it moves into Ohio. So in just a few minutes. So let me say, if you're in Salina, St. Henry, make sure that, hey, kind of a heads up for you. If you're in Mercer County or Darke County, make sure kind of a heads up. This is moving your way if this holds together, which at this point it looks like it will. So heads up for you over there in those counties. Make sure that you are prepared to take action if a warning is issued for, especially Mercer County, I think, and if this holds together in Darke County. So make sure that you are ready to go if there were to be a warning issued here for your area. But there is a tornado warning, again, as Nick alluded to, pretty much for the Portland area in east central Indiana. It goes until 11:30. Again, right now we're tracking this off, and it's moving at about 60 miles an hour, so it's moving fairly decently, at a pretty decent clip as it moves off to the northeast, and it is just now coming into the Portland area. So again, if you're in that path or you're in the polygon there on the screen, make sure that you are seeking shelter at this time, the lowest level of your house, and put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. We're getting kind of a lot of different storms come through here, or warnings come up, and special weather statements that are starting to fire up across the area. Wouldn't be surprised to see the Storm Prediction Center maybe issue a watch. I know they were debating that a few minutes ago. They were at 40%, but wouldn't be surprised to see maybe a watch come out of this as well, Nick.
Yeah, I think especially if we're going to see tornado warning starts pop up, I've got a track on here on it. Those of you in Mercer County, I know for those of you in Salina, you're looking at this and thinking, "Oh my goodness, again, we've had enough of the last couple of years, right?" I understand that. The other issue I want to bring up is it's nighttime, folks. A lot of you could be sleeping. I know we don't have a lot of church services that are in service right now for tomorrow, but you might be sleeping and maybe you have some plans early tomorrow morning. But those of you in Mercer County, this is your call to action now. Start preparing in the event a tornado warning were to be issued for you. The tracker on it now brings it into Portland in less than 10 minutes from now. St. Henry at 11:37, Coldwater 11:39, Salina a little bit before midnight. I will tell you that right now the velocity signature is not the greatest. We're watching it. I'm giving a couple more scans here before we start to see. I'll switch over to the terminal Doppler in Dayton once the storm has passed into Portland. The worst of it now is kind of in between Dunkirk and Red Key. It's right along Indiana Route 67. That's going to be south of Indiana Route 26 and east of State Route 167 that runs up and down the Blackford-Jay County line. For reference, they're in US 27. This was an area that was hit very hard back in 2017 into Portland. Again, I know these areas you guys have been hit a lot over the last couple years. It's probably very anxious, very frightening. You're a little concerned, thinking, why is this happening again? It's just the kind of environment that we're in tonight where tornadoes are possible. We mentioned this a little while ago. So just go ahead and take your safety precautions, get to that lowest level, put as many walls between you and the outside if you can, and we're going to get through this. If you have your mobile device with you, take that down to the basement with you. If you don't have one, and perhaps you're watching us on a computer and you can't take that, go ahead and turn the volume up, and we'll talk to you. We'll get you through this here as safely and quickly as we can here. So, Brant, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I'm just quickly editing the text of the video real quick. It took me a minute to find out how, but yeah, that's done.
And just to let you know, I'm still continuing to track the one over near the Mid-Ohio Valley, so we are looking at that one as well. There's some thunderstorm wind damage that came in from Mooresville. That's not a surprise from earlier. That's out of our coverage area. But we are looking at the cells over near Cadiz, or back over excuse me, in the Ohio area. Just want to let you know we are keeping an eye on that very closely. We're still watching a couple of things, so we have to wait and see what happens here in the next few minutes, but still kind of keeping its act together for that one. So we'll keep our focus here right now on the tornado warning for Jay County, Indiana there. So we'll keep our eye on that as we move forward in the next few minutes.
Yeah, absolutely. I do want to mention again, with this being nighttime, it might be hard for some folks to get warnings, and please do not rely on outdoor warning sirens. Hence, that's why they're outdoor. Please make sure, we've been stressing all day and even yesterday, please make sure you have ways to receive warnings. It is going to be very, very important that you do have multiple ways to receive warnings and not just one. So that's kind of what we're watching at this present time. Again, we still do have other severe thunderstorm warnings just to the south of this, so this is kind of an ongoing line. It is developing, moving off towards the northeast. Again, Mercer County, this is your call to action. We'll be watching the Wilmington office very closely because this will be crossing from the Northern Indiana office to the Wilmington office. So a different office takes responsibility. They might look at this a little bit differently. Owen, I'm sure you'll be watching that particular chat room there as well to let us know what we're seeing. I'll try to do my best to watch too. So we'll see how things look there. So I can tell you that right now this is going to be a issue that impacts Portland and not Bryant. It's okay. This is kind of the southern half or the southeastern half of Jay County. If you are north of Portland and your address, if you get a piece of mail and your address does not say Portland, you're in good shape if you're north of town. If you have a mailing address with Portland, you probably would just be better off staying in your safe place until this tornado warning were to expire or we see an update. So that's kind of where things stand now. I don't see any evidence that it's confirmed, but I do see where, okay, so I can give you the best guess now where the tornado is probably going to be, if there is one. It's going to be now east of Red Key, in between Route 1 and US 27. I'll flip it back over to velocity. You can see that right there. It's kind of right on the edge of the radar range, but you can see where the reds and greens come together. If we flip that back over to reflectivity, you can almost kind of pick out a little bit of a comet head feature coming through there. So if there's a tornado, that's likely where it's going to be, is going to be in that section there. We now have a severe thunderstorm warning for Mercer County. I think that's a good call out, getting ahead of it, and we'll see what if Wilmington does elect to go tornado warning at some point. So did they tag that tornado possible? Does anybody know that?
No, they
No?
did not.
Okay.
But that does go for the speed the storms are moving. It goes until midnight, so that's way out ahead of it.
And one of the things to keep in mind, too, I'm watching some of the comments in the chat room. We're not going to talk about your specific town right now. I apologize. We're just not going to do that. Anytime there's a tornado warning, this is why we try to make sure everybody knows where they're at on a map, that sort of thing. We are in Indiana at this point, getting across into the state of Ohio near Salina. So, again, we will not be talking about your specific town right now. We apologize. We'll do a wrap-up maybe towards the end. So I do apologize. We can't give that type of advice. We're watching many different things and trying to give you the best advice that we can, so we apologize for that. But we won't be doing that at this point. But if you're anywhere near this, so if you are in the Salina area, make sure that you are prepared for this. You're under a severe thunderstorm warning now. It's possible that it could be a tornado warning upgrade here in a few minutes. So if you're in Darke County, Mercer County, and out ahead of this a little bit, some people in Lima right now, I know that some people are asking about Lima. If it holds together, yeah, it's absolutely possible that you might be able to see a tornado warning or not. We'll have to wait and see over the next few scans. So just make sure you're alert if you're in the Lima area, Wapakoneta, Sydney. Make sure you're just on alert as we go through the next half hour or so to kind of see how this thing plays out. The tornado warning has been continued. They are continuing to locate or see a severe thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado that's located near Portland, moving east at 60 miles an hour. And Nick, I'll tell you one thing, looking at the terminal Doppler, there is a TVS signature on it, and it's a TVS of 3 that we're looking at, albeit it's not totally strong, but it's definitely there. It's definitely concerning, and it's just now starting to come into view with us, so we can get a better picture of this thing as it moves forward here over the next couple minutes.
Yeah, I just looked over to the terminal Doppler, and actually what's interesting is the terminal, again, we're kind of still on the edge, but we're getting a better picture with each scan that comes in. We're seeing kind of a little bit of more, actually, Owen, I'm a little concerned that there could be some rotation coming into Mercer County now. I'm not sure if that's what you were trying to say with that, but that TVS marker is there right near the community of Wabash, and then there's kind of maybe some other areas of concern kind of down the line, so we'll have to watch that. But those of you in Mercer County, I would probably start thinking about what are you going to do if they upgrade this to a tornado warning? Where do I go? Do I have a safe place? Do I have my supplies? Do I have a helmet? Just kind of start thinking about it. Not saying you need to act on it yet, but just kind of start thinking about that and where that safe place is going to be, and kind of what is your course of action going to be. Because the latest track now, while it doesn't come into Salina, it's going to be a very close call. It's too close to call right now. The track may change as storms are moving through. But Fort Recovery, St. Henry, Coldwater, Minster, call to action now. Start thinking about where you're going to go in the event a tornado warning were to be issued. Keep in mind, we do not have a watch right now, so that maybe kind of, some of you may have went to bed thinking, there's no watch, I got nothing to worry about. That's a little bit of a different story, so just kind of keep that in mind. So we'll take you back over to this radar source again. I still think I'm waiting a new scan here. I've not gotten one in about 4 minutes from northern Indiana, so that's a little concerning. Hopefully we're not having radar issues with them. I'll try updating it a different way. And, okay, there's the latest scan coming in now. I think it is very close to US 27. If not, it'll be crossing over US 27 within the next scan or two. But we've also got Salomonias in the path of this, so that'll be crossing then eventually into Ohio. So that's kind of what we're watching right now. Things have gotten a little bit busy, and that's no surprise there. Oh, and I know we are not going to necessarily move the radar over to Ken's area, but are you seeing anything over there, or are we still looking at just more of a straight line wind? Because I know that one had a tornado tag as well.
To me, it looks like more of a straight line wind. I do have that one open as well, so more of a straight line wind damage, Nick. So, again, many of you are asking, hey, where's this at? Where is it going? That sort of thing. We are in the Ohio line, so we're on the eastern part of Indiana and the western part of Ohio, getting ready to move into the Salina area. And, Nick, they were wondering maybe we could put another track on it for them here. As it moves through. So we'll have to wait and see. Anybody in Mercer County, I would just take some precaution, get ready to get to your safe place. Nothing has been confirmed at this point, and it's been relatively quiet out of the National Weather Service office there. So we'll have to wait and see over the next few minutes if they decide to continue this into the other county of Mercer County or not. I mean, they just updated the warning and said it was still valid a few moments ago. So we'll have to wait and see here over the next few minutes for Mercer County. As it continues. Okay, there was another update just issued for that. It is still continuing. It's still valid for another 10 minutes, and they're still saying that a severe thunderstorm is capable of producing a tornado near Portland, moving northeast at 60. So they just come out with another update, so they're still saying that tornado warning is valid. So due to that, if you're in Mercer County, I would definitely start to think now about getting to our tornado-safe shelters just as a precaution.
Yeah, and real quick, so there's the track. I've noticed that it's taken a little bit more of a northeast turn over the last couple of scans, and the Weather Service out of northern Indiana suggested that it's now moving northeast at 60. It looks like they've actually been saying that, and Owen may have said that, so I apologize if I misspoke there. But nevertheless, here's a track there. So we've got all of Mercer counties in the path, most of Auglaize County, southeastern Van Wert County, south central Putnam County, and a portion of Allen County kind of near and west of 75. That's kind of where I would start to begin thinking about, okay, what's going to happen if I get a tornado warning? Where's my safe place? Do I have everything I need? Just kind of keep that in mind. So that's where things stand now. Again, US 127, US 33, I-75. If I kind of called your name out there or your route that's near you, just kind of be prepared in case a tornado warning were to be issued for you. That's the latest track. I'll give you an updated track here in a couple of scans once we can continue to evaluate what we're seeing. Let's go back to base velocity. I'll tell you, I still think the worst of this, there it is. It's kind of there in between Portland and Salmonia. Again, crossing 27 right now. Let's go back over to terminal. We'll look at the velocity. Yeah, that's a much better look at it. There it is. There's a couple of TVS markers there. Brant, I'm not sure if you're looking at the same thing there, but I definitely think if we're not seeing a tornado, there's definitely a mesocyclone going on for sure.
Yeah, and I would tend to agree with you that. I'm also watching into Mercer County now. I don't know if you have an eye on that, Nick. This is outside of the tornado warning. Possibly in western Mercer County, some more rotation. That's doesn't have a warning on it right now. So if you're in Mercer, just Mercer County, just heads up because this is heading your way. It does have a history of having a tornado warning on it, so we could see that issued at any time. But I would tend to agree with you, Nick. I'm looking at the velocity, and from Wilmington, actually, it looks very pronounced in that area, just south of Portland there. And as we said, the terminal Doppler is just coming into range, so it's not quite there where we can get an actual clear picture of it. I think it's still there, Nick.
And Nick, I would tend to agree that there's in my opinion, there's two distinct areas of rotation that we need to be careful in, and one is in Mercer County. One is near the city of Wabash. So if you were there, I would definitely be seeking your tornado safe shelters. Not saying that there is one, but better be safe than sorry from what I'm looking at. And if you flip over to just the reflectivity side, looking at just the rain, you can kind of see the inlets to these. One going right into Portland, kind of wrapping around, not as the dark red, kind of the and it depends on what your radar looks like, Nick, but you can see very clearly where the input or the inflow of the storm is going into Portland and just up north of Wabash. Those are the two areas indicating rotation, and you can see that very clearly here on just regular reflectivity. And I also think we might be seeing a little bit of hail in those too. I'm not sure. I'm getting some weird things there as well, but we'll keep an eye on that. But if you're in those two areas, in the two areas on your screen, just make sure you seek shelter right now. Better be safe than sorry, Nick. Get it to the lowest level of your house and put as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Again, I don't want to overhype that for Mercer County, but I just would seek caution and make sure that you are at least in a safe place for now.
Yeah, and real quick, they did take Portland out of the tornado warning, but I would still stay there. You're very, very close. Some of you may still have an address associated with Portland inside of the polygon, so not going to give you an all clear despite you not being in the tornado warning. You're still under severe thunderstorm warning with that tornado possible tag, so we always tell you try to treat that as a tornado warning. Let's go back over to reflectivity. You're seeing the purple triangles on your screen from the terminal Doppler. That's an indication of a tornado vortex signature. And we're seeing those. It looks like the next scan we'll hopefully get those in an updated location, but we're still seeing rotation. And as Owen was alluding to, it's this spot here along State Route 29 between Wabash and Salina. So 29, you get that out of St. Mary's off of the 33 exit there. If you take 33, goes up to Neptune and eventually up into Rockford and Wilshire. If you take 29, goes into Salina and then crosses over into portions of Indiana. I think it's a different road at that point. Yes, it is State Route 67 at that point. So just so you kind of know for a geographical reference where we're talking about at this point in time. So Salina, Coldwater, St. Henry, Fort Recovery, and let's see what that is.
That was for Mercer, Ohio. The tornado possible tag is now in there.
Yep. So not. Yep.
Let's put that in there.
Yeah. Not surprised to see that. I think that's kind of a precursor to what we could see in a couple of minutes if we're still seeing these signatures. So now all of Mercer County virtually is under this severe thunderstorm warning, and it has a tornado possible tag to it, and they have upped the wind to 70 miles per hour. So regardless of whether or not you see a tornado, there is going to be that potential for straight line wind damage. And also of note, we do have 2 counties in southeast Indiana under a severe thunderstorm warning, so things are beginning to get a little active here this evening. I know we still have warnings over in the Mid Ohio Valley, and as soon as we are tornado warning free, I promise you we'll go back and talk about that. But those of us now in Mercer and Jay counties, those are our 2 top priorities right now. And the other thing of note, this is clearly rain wrapped. If somebody's out ahead of this trying to see it or trying to get a visual on it, they're not going to see it. This is definitely an embedded circulation, lots of heavy rain. I'm not even sure if lightning is going to even be a very good visual to try to find what's going on with this.
No, absolutely. And for those of you that are tuning in, maybe hearing some of the chimes and things, and maybe some EAS beep and maybe a cow, you might be hearing all 3. Some of those things are just keyword indicators for us that as we're looking through, and there are certain keywords that spark a sound for us, so we know to look directly for that. So like a tornado may have the EAS alert beep or the cow, depending on whose screen is turned on for audio. But with that's what you're hearing. Nothing to be scared about. It's just for us, since we're looking at radar and other things, it's hard to read the text sometimes that's coming in. So we have those keyword indicators that spark a sound for us. So that's what that is. But looking at this, again, it is, tag tornado possible for Salina, and especially it's going to be kind of in the northern part of Mercer County, in my opinion, but also coming into the southern part of Mercer County is the other one with the tornado warning. So we have to wait and see what happens here. I think the one that's approaching the southern portion of Mercer County, not quite as impressive as it once was for the one that's for Jay County, but still there is a tornado warning still active for that. So if you're in that area, make sure you're getting to the lowest level of your house and putting as many walls between you and the outside as possible. Same thing goes if you're in northern Mercer County, north of Salina. Make sure that you're just in your safe place right now. They did tag that tornado possible, so anytime they do that on a severe thunderstorm warning, they are seeing something like we are seeing, that it's very possible. I can tell you, coming in right now into the Salina area, as well, just east of Salina, we are starting to see what's called more of some normalized rotation. So as we're looking at that, we're starting to see things tightening up just a little bit. So Salina, yeah, I'm going to say heads up to you right now. Just get into your tornado safe places at this point. We do have that tornado possible tag, and at any second they could issue a tornado warning for you. That's kind of the precursor to a tornado warning, is they're trying to give us a little bit more heads up on the severe thunderstorm warnings and what they're seeing. So if this holds together on the next scan or 2, they probably will issue a tornado warning, but at this point for Salina it would be too late. So make sure that you are just taking those safety precautions, Nick.
Yeah, let's go ahead and flash those back up on the screen just so we have a kind of a reminder for everybody. So again, if you're in Jay County or even Mercer County at this point, we have tornado possible tags with severe thunderstorm warnings and or even a tornado warning attached. So get to the lowest levels possible. Best place is a basement or below ground. We also have an alternative. You also have alternative places if you can't get to a basement or below ground. You have a bathroom, you have a closet, room with no windows in the center of your house if possible. Again, we understand that doesn't always apply. We understand that not every house has that kind of shelter, but that's just where we want you to be if you can get there. Mobile home, get out of there if you can. If you don't have a sturdy structure, hunker down, find somewhat of as safe of a place as possible, and just stay there until this storm gets past you. Put as many walls between you and the outside, and of course take something to your shelter to protect yourself from that flying debris, as oftentimes when debris hits somebody's head, that's where most of our serious injuries come from. So make sure you have a helmet or something to especially protect your head, but if you even have a mattress, if you have an extra mattress, take it with you to protect yourself from that flying debris. So I think if we're going to get a tornado warning, we'll probably get it any second here, or any minute rather, from Mercer County. It looks like things have maybe lightened up a little bit, but I don't want you to let your guard down in Mercer County. I still want you to be in your safe place and stay there until these storms have moved through. The tornado warning for Jay County has expired as it is now 11:30 p.m.
Yeah, absolutely, Nick. I was just keeping an eye on stuff over in the Mid Ohio Valley as well. So I'm not sure if Brant's back. I hear a little.
I am.
Oh, there
I
he
am
is.
back.
All
Yep.
right.
I have no clue what you were saying, but I am back.
Welcome back. The tornado warning has expired for Jay County right now, so bring
That's
that
good
back.
news. Good
So
news.
that is especially expired. It's 11:30. It's finally dropped off. So we're dealing now back with just a severe thunderstorm warning for Mercer County, and actually a plethora of severe thunderstorm warnings. So we can kind of let our guard down just a little bit and look at some of these other storms. But again, I still say if you're in Mercer County, you need to make sure that you are prepared to take action if a tornado warning would be issued. Like Nick said, if it would be issued, it's going to probably be issued the next couple of minutes. It's kind of going back and forth. It's tightening up just a little bit, and then it's kind of relaxing. Hopefully it's on that downward trend, and it's starting to fan out just a little bit, be more of a linear threat as we move through Mercer County and off into Van Wert, Allen, and Auglaize County, Nick.
Yeah, real quick, just want to give a quick update. The cell near Wheeling has weakened considerably in terms of the hail core. It still looks pretty strong. Still a severe thunderstorm warning in place. I know, Owen, you've been watching that one. This one doesn't look nearly as intense as it did when we first came on and we started looking at that. So that's that one. Let's go and bounce now into southeast Indiana. So just for reference, our coverage area is eastern Indiana, all of Ohio, and a little bit of West Virginia. So we're going to kind of have to bounce around a little bit between the different areas. We have 3 completely different spots where we have severe thunderstorm warnings. We've got the Indiana-Ohio border close to Salina, down towards Muncie even. We have over in Wheeling, and then we have down closer to Cincinnati. So let's take a look at the storm down here in Cincinnati. They did not tag this one tornado possible, but I can see where they are concerned about some damaging wind. West of Versailles, it's going to be just to the west of town. And that's going to be just to the west of State Route 4, U.S. Route 421. Track on this one's going to bring it into Versailles, then Greendale, over towards Lawrenceburg, and eventually over towards Cleves and White Oak if this storm does hold together. This is that second line that we talked about, the next round. We told you we would have to get through this tonight yet before we can kind of start to see that severe threat start to wane just a little bit. Let's bump back up to Mercer County real quick and also into Randolph County. Even the severe thunderstorm warning for Blackford and Jay is gone as well. And we'll flip over to terminal Doppler here as well. And Brant, go ahead.
No, I was just about to say, if you could take a look at the terminal Doppler up there. I know some of our viewers may be visual people, and if we can show them the radar and show them, if you look from the Wilmington radar, it's not quite there, but if you look at the terminal, Nick, which I'm sure you have it up now, I'm taking just a second to catch up on my end here, but it's still there. That straight line wind and potential rotation is still there just a bit. It's not as concerning as it was because there's not a tornado warning on it. But if you look from the terminal lake, it is still clearly there.
Yeah, definitely straight line wind threat. You can see this, the greens and reds, they are pretty much neck and neck all the way down through Mercer County. So while we don't have a distinct, really concerning area that jumps out and says, ooh, this spot looks more interesting than another, we still want you to just be prepared anywhere along that line. There could be a quick isolated tornado pop up there, even though there's no warning. We still have that tornado possible tag. I do believe even with an update on that warning, did they update that? They did, and they do maintain tornado possible, wind to 70 miles per hour, and hail less than penny size for Mercer County. So it looks like the Weather Service of Wilmington still keeping a pretty close eye on this one, and we are too. So those of you now in western Auglaize County, we'll see if they're going to issue a warning on that. And there's a new TVS marker now in northeastern Mercer County. That's going to be east of Rockford. That's going to be just east of the US 33 127 interchange. There's a marathon there, kind of a truck stop, and this is now moving just east of there. So we'll have to watch that very closely. That's going to be moving into a little bit more of an open countryside there in northeastern Mercer County. It may clip parts of State Route 117 that comes out of Lima. That goes over towards Rockford as well, so we'll watch and see where all that goes. And we also have Grand Lake St. Mary's is not too far from all this. So if you know anybody in that neck of the woods, please tell them to be prepared to take some precautions, because that's a pretty intense cell coming through Mercer County. Let's take you back to reflectivity, and you can see here there not really a lot of hail. There could be still some again up there right there by the US 33 127 interchange, and then maybe a little bit coming into far western Mercer County, say around Wabash. And that's kind of the only areas of hail, and even those have kind of weakened off a little bit as well. So Owen and Brant, I don't see anything else concerning, at least at this point. Again, I definitely think there's still some straight line winds, but we'll see if they elect to issue any further warnings on that. Looks like even down in Randolph County, some of that has dissipated just a little bit, but still don't want to let your guard down.
So what's going on here? I'll jump in real quick because they just issued a special weather statement for Darke County and southwestern Shelby counties for a strong thunderstorm. So they're kind of looking at that one as it crosses the Ohio line and moves in. So they may.
Okay, I'm not sure what just happened there. We did just lose the stream briefly. If somebody could tell me whether or not we are back, give me 1 second here. I want to get Owen and Brant back in here. I'm not sure what happened with that. Give me 1 second here.
Tornado warning.
Apologies about that, guys. We lost connection briefly, but we are back, I do believe. Yes, getting confirmation that we're back. So OBS kind of...
Can you hear me?
Yep, you're good. Owen, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we lost connection briefly, but we are back. So I'm not sure what you were saying. We lost it for about 30 seconds there.
No problem. I'm just saying it's turning into more of a linear threat tonight, but you could see on this front as it kind of rushes through, you're seeing some of these phalanges that could have a little bit of a spin up. So we're watching those as it moves through the area, and again tomorrow going to be windy as well as this front moves through.
Is there anything else you want to add there for a second? Looks like we got another mesoscale just issued as well.
Correct.
No, the only thing I wanted to add is the severe thunderstorm warning we were watching in eastern Ohio has been canceled, so we are no longer dealing with that on that end.
That's good to see. So now all of our attention is going to be focused across portions of western Ohio. We might want to update the video text again, just to say that we don't have an active tornado warning, just that we are trying to keep a close eye and trying to stay up to date on that. So again, right now the main focus is going to be Jay, Mercer, Randolph, and Darke counties, and then obviously now down into Dearborn and Ripley counties where we have severe thunderstorm warnings there. Eventually Franklin County, Indiana, and then into Hamilton and Butler counties in Ohio. That's kind of the next spot in line. Let's see. Looks like Ken McNatt just commented there with the
that's the
mesoscale.
Storm Prediction Center. They just they were talking about that, and what Ken's talking about real quick. QLCS, by the way, stands for Nick, quasi linear convective system. Very good. They can show you're paying attention. All right, QLCS. So we could see some quick spin-ups of QLCS tornadoes. They are saying pretty much the current tornado watch that's in effect for the southern part of Indiana. Pretty much it's shifting very rapidly into the eastern portion of that. They probably are going to issue a new watch. That's what they're saying in that latest update from the Storm Prediction Center for southwest Ohio. So we'll have to see what happens over the next few minutes. If they're going to issue it, it's probably going to be, I would say, within minutes rather than an hour or so, because the line's starting to pop up here, Nick. But yeah, definitely something to keep an eye on. But QLCS, and when we're dealing with that, a lot of people, Nick, maybe you want to explain exactly what that looks like as we're starting to see that squall line, if you will, and that linear threat. And in particular, the QLCS tornadoes. They form very quickly, Nick. One of the things about QLCS, the tornadoes form very, very quickly with little or no warning, and they often spin up very, very quickly from a structure like this, or this linear system, or this squall line, if you will. And they're pretty weak in terms of everything, but they can do some damage. I mean, they're fairly weak on the EF standards, but definitely they can spin up, cause a brief tornado, and it happens. And we're in the perfect setup for this. Usually QLCSs happen at night. We are right in the perfect setup for this as it rushes across southwest Ohio.
Yeah, absolutely. And what Owen is alluding to is to what they look like. So I'm going to stop the radar, and we're actually going to go right into Mercer County. That's a great explanation of how I can show you what a QLCS tornado how it could form and what it looks like. So we have this line that extends from southeastern Van Wert County. I'm going to draw here, and as you see, we kind of have these little kinks that kind of stick out every once in a while as we go up and down the line. You kind of see these. And anytime one of those little kinks stick out, that is an indication that we're seeing a lot of wind being pushed in, and there's an opportunity for inflow or winds coming into the storm to be wrapped up very quickly for just a couple of minutes. And sometimes they happen even in between radar scans, which are sometimes just a minute or two in between, and then it's gone. So very, very quick. They can sometimes produce a decent amount of damage, but they're usually very quick. They're usually not the ones that stay on the ground for very long periods of time. So that's what we're concerned about there. We'll see if they're going to issue a new warning for Auglaize County. It's coming right up to the border now, so we'll wait and see what they're going to do with that. And the mesoscale discussion, for reference, right now only includes the Cincinnati metro and up to about Wilmington. They do not have it any further north. I'm kind of shocked by that, seeing as how we have had multiple warnings well north of I-70 this year. We've had Muncie, we've had the tornado warning in Jay County, which is gone, and now we have coming here to Salina. So a little shock. So I would say at this point, anybody that is kind of, we'll say, along and west of US 23, be prepared, because we could see a tornado watch or even a severe thunderstorm watch come out. I'm sure the Weather Service offices will be talking to the Storm Prediction Center. Oh, and you're very familiar with that process with the EMA and whatnot. So we'll wait and see what they're going to do.
Yeah, probably right now they're talking, to be very honest with you. And we're watching some other storms, too, across even the northern part of our viewing area, up in Seneca County, Sandusky County. If you're in those areas, too, nothing overly concerning right now, but we're still could possibly see some of the storms get a little stronger on the wind threat. So pretty much anywhere across southwest Ohio tonight, I think that's the main target, if you will, for severe storms as we go through the next few hours. But pretty much as we said all day, Nick, anywhere across the state, anywhere across our coverage area, you need to be prepared overnight tonight. So there is the new severe thunderstorm warning that was just issued there for Auglaize County and portions of Shelby and Darke County as well. That goes until 12:30, so that one was just issued a moment ago for northwestern Shelby, northeastern Darke County, Auglaize County, and southwestern Mercer County until 12:30. Again, they slowed the storm down a little bit. They're saying 40 miles an hour now, and 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts is what they're seeing on radar at this point. So if you're out ahead of this, again, it's becoming more of that linear threat and that QLCS threat. So the Wilmington office, or if you're looking at us saying ILN in the text, ILN stands for the Wilmington office, as they have their 3-digit code that's abbreviated. That's what we're talking about. An MD is mesoscale discussion, which is just nothing more than looking as a storm discussion about the overall setup of the atmosphere out of the Storm Prediction Center. That's what we're talking about when we say that. But it's becoming more of that linear threat, Nick, and I think you would agree with me that perfect setup for QLCS-type tornadoes tonight. So, yeah, you don't want to let your guard down. As we've been preaching all day, make sure that you have a way to receive possible warnings as you head overnight tonight, and if you're going to bed, just make sure you have a way to receive those warnings. If you're in Lima, I know some people are asking, we got some pretty good representation from Lima. This will be knocking at your doorstep here roughly in the next hour or so, even depending on where you're at in the next half hour, as it pushes off to about 40 miles an hour. So this will be in your doorstep about the next hour, the bulk part of this storm. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. Again, along this line, there is minor rotation. At any point, this could spin up, and we'll have to wait and see what happens. So we're dealing with a lot of different things, a lot of flash flooding. I know there's some... There is. They updated that with the tornado possible tag now for Mercer County, which again, kind of not a surprise there. So we're looking at this. The first warning, I should say, just for Mercer County. All right, not the second one, but the first one that's just for Mercer County only. They just updated that one, and they're saying that they continue to indicate a severe thunderstorm warning for the area, obviously, moving at about 60 miles an hour with 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts, and right now they're saying that still tornado possible, so they kept the tornado possible tag, Nick.
Yeah, kind of interested that we don't have that tag on the next warning out. Portions of southeastern Mercer County are under 2 different warnings because of the timing. It looks like the storm may have slowed down a little bit, so they went ahead and just made sure that come midnight there's at least a warning in place for those that are going to be impacted. So that's kind of where things stand. And I think, we'll see if you guys disagree with me, I think this is trying to turn a little more northeast. The Weather Service kind of has it moving, at least the initial track was a little more northeast. There it is. Let's look at this one. This one I think is a little bit more accurate representation. So St. Mary's, Cridersville, into Lima there, as you can see. I think this is again taking a little bit more of a northeast track. I'll track the whole line in just a minute, but this is from the National Weather Service track. So northern Indiana would be the next one to take over for Allen County. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another warning come up there. It would probably be severe thunderstorm, but it would be for the Lima area. I'm going to flash over a terminal real quick on my back screen here and see what... No rotation, at least not nearly anything like what we were seeing a little earlier. So let's go and track the whole line real quick. I promised you I would. And in fact, I'll even track it more than just where the severe part is. We'll go and track it from Putnam County all the way down into Darke County and Randolph County. Just let everybody kind of has a heads up again. I think it's moving a little more northeast. We'll move it at about 50 or 55 just to give a couple extra minutes of heads up. But Union City pretty much now. St. Mary's 11:48 coming into your doorstep again pretty much right now. Into Lima, again, depending on what side of Lima you're on, and Lima's a pretty wide community, so the western side you're going to get a little bit before midnight. The eastern side will probably come in east of 75 just after midnight. Finley, again, right around midnight for you as well. Into Tiffin by around 12:30 if this holds together. I think it's got a decent chance to. We'll see how severe the severity, but definitely a lot of heavy rain and some small hail, and at least some sub-severe wind. I think we would definitely see some of that as well. That would be winds below 58 miles per hour, but we'll see. And Brant, are you getting any reports on your page or anything you want to pass along?
I'm not, but I am seeing a few comments here and there about what do we mean by keep your guard up, and I'll take that if.
You want me to take that? Because I'll have no problem schooling people tonight.
Well,
go ahead,
you know
Brent.
what?
No, you go ahead.
Okay.
You're soft tonight, so you go ahead.
All right. Well, basically what that means is, number one, don't let your guard down for keeping an eye out to the sky, keeping an eye on your media outlets or whatever way you have to get warnings. Secondly, we always recommend that people have multiple ways to get warnings, so that may be us and the weather radio or a news station's Facebook page or whatever it may be. But you need to have multiple ways to receive warnings. And Owen, I mean, if you really want to add anything else to that, I mean, that's really what we mean by keep your guard up is keep an eye out to the sky and just have multiple ways to get warnings and have your safety plan ready and prepared if you shall need it tonight.
Yeah, we may have lost Owen there briefly. We're having
I'm here.
Oh, there he is. Okay.
Oh, no, I'm here. I'm dealing with lots of things, but I'm here. No. Brant, you did a very great job. So, again, we're not going to take specific questions here about my county, my town, my county, my town. There's too much kind of going on right now that we're keeping an eye on. If we're mentioning the counties that you live in, you need to take action right now. If you're anywhere else in that area, anywhere else in the state of Ohio, you need to make sure that you have a way, just as Brant said, to receive warnings tonight. Pretty much as straightforward as it gets. For this as we move off. We'll try to do a wrap-up here in a bit, but it is just too hard. You can see in the chat everybody wants to know my town, my town, my town. That's not we can't do that. It's just impossible. So we'll do our very best, but if you're anywhere out ahead of the storm on the map, is hopefully you all know where you're at on the map, out ahead of this storm, just make sure that you keep your guard up, and that means have multiple ways to receive warnings and be ready to take action if there was a warning issued.
Yeah, hopefully I'll try to solve some of those questions now. So I went ahead and I extended the track out to 2 hours. So instead of just 1 hour, let's look at 2 hours. So as you can see, Lima, again, very consistent around or just after midnight. Findlay, same thing for you. Sydney, 12:08. Tiffin, 12:26, staying consistent. Bellefontaine, 12:26. Bucyrus, 12:41. If a couple other communities in there, you've got Fostoria in the path, you've got Kenton in the path, so just a lot of other communities. But if you're out ahead of this, basically if you are east of 75, and I believe, I'm not sure what route that is that runs through Tiffin, that's 224. If you're south of 224 and east of 75, have ways to receive warnings, have your severe weather action plan ready. So that'll hopefully kind of nix some of those questions about my town, my town, my town. We know that you're concerned. We're watching it for you, and we're going to stay here for a little bit because we've had tornado warnings. We've got winds over 70 miles per hour indicated in some spots through the night tonight so far early. So we're going to stay here for a little bit until we feel pretty comfortable that we don't have anything overly severe. We had some warnings earlier that we didn't come live for because, again, they were just marginally severe. We don't want to overhype this, but because we've had tornado warnings recently, we've got warnings that are tagged tornado possible. We're not going anywhere, at least in the immediate future. So we'll get you through this. Stay safe, and we'll stay right here. Yeah, Brant, go ahead.
So I did receive a comment, and there's a couple other ones in here. People saying they're living in mobile homes, and they don't know where they should go if a warning is issued. So, Nick, if you want to touch on that one, I'm sure that could be a great help to our viewers right now.
Yeah, so those of you in a mobile home. So most mobile homes actually have, and some of you, and I actually understand that some of you may not know where this is, and that's okay, because not everybody knows that, but most mobile home communities actually have a designated safe place. that you can go if there's a warning issued, or if you're just a little bit concerned, or if it sometimes will just open up. Oftentimes near mobile home communities, there's also more substantial structures like gas stations, which I understand some of those may not be open right now with the difficult times that we are facing right now across not just this area, but really across everywhere with some of the other things. But that's kind of what we are watching. We've been talking about this for a couple of days. I know on a couple of the days the risk levels did not verify. They didn't materialize, and that happens sometimes. We can't control Mother Nature. She can't control us. So we're just dealt with the card. But today, we told you to be prepared and have ways to receive warnings, and now it's here, and hopefully you were prepared. We gave you plenty of notice, and that's kind of where we're at right now. But those of you in a mobile home community, if you absolutely have nowhere to go, if you have a friend's house that has a sturdy structure, see if you can stay the night there. If you have, as an absolute last resort, you have nowhere to go, get into the center part of your mobile home and hope for the best. That's about all I can say. If you don't have a designated safe place at your mobile home park, you don't have a friend's place to go, and you don't have a convenience store or other sturdy structure near you, nighttime, we don't want you driving trying to outrun these storms tonight, especially at nighttime. It is not a very good, I would not even chase at night, most likely, or even not even storm spot. The most storm spotting you would see me do, I'll stand on my front porch at night. That is all I would do. I don't want you guys out there risking your lives tonight trying to outrun these things. So again, if you're in a mobile home park, we'll watch out for you. We'll try to give you advice, and I'll try to find some more tips. But again, if you don't have that safe place, get into just the centermost part of your mobile home. For most, that's probably a bathroom or a closet. Again, I know they usually don't withstand a lot of wind, but at least you would have some form of protection over some wind, and some protection is better than no protection at all. I think a car is actually a little worse than a mobile home, but that's kind of where we stand. So hopefully that kind of takes care of some of that. Owen, you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, there's unfortunately mobile homes don't have a great answer, and with the storm spotting classes and some things that you learn as I teach those, there's not a good answer for that. I would disagree. I would say that if worst case scenario, you get into a low-lying area such as a ditch or a low-lying area, if there was a tornado warning or something like that and it's coming, because I think that is better, because if there's any debris or it picks up the mobile home, the likelihood of you surviving that is very slim. Same thing in a car. It kind of goes back and forth. We used to say get out and get into a ditch if you were driving, if you had a tornado approaching. Now we're telling you to pretty much stay in the car and buckle up.
News outlet in Dayton that is saying that the warning in Allglaze, Dark, Mercer, and Shelby is a tornado warning. That's not the case. I do want to make that very, very clear right now. It is not a tornado warning. It is a severe thunderstorm warning. There's a news outlet that is sending notifications out to those that live in these areas saying that it is a tornado warning. That is not the case. So let's kind of nix that a little bit now. I'm not going to mention the source or the station on there. I'm not that kind of person, but it may have just been a mistake, may have been a wrong notification, but it is not a tornado warning. It is a severe thunderstorm warning. So let's go back into it. I'm getting a couple messages, actually. Zach was the one that just sent it to me. And it looks like a couple other people may be talking about this now as well. So let's zoom back into this. So this is going to be southeastern Mercer County. The original warning for Mercer County is set to expire in 7 minutes. So I'm not going to worry about that because it's already replaced with a new warning. So southeastern Mercer County and really Dark County, for the most part, you're in the clear, but for the sake of understanding this, we'll still leave you in this. Northwestern Shelby County, that's going to be north of Sidney, kind of from Anna and points west and north, and then most of Allglaze County, Wapakoneta, St. Mary's, very close to the community of New Hampshire, that's off of 33, where you would then turn west to continue on 33 towards 75, or you could continue north and head towards Lima. There's actually there's a tractor distribution center there. I know that area very well. So again, this is a severe thunderstorm warning. If this were a tornado warning, our tone would be a little bit different, and we would have stayed a little bit more focused on this. We would be showing you more velocity images and things like that. So just to kind of nix that, and maybe somebody could kind of put that in the comments section if one of you want to, that this is not a tornado warning. That is, there's some false notifications being sent out from the news stations in Dayton. This is not a tornado warning by any means. And I see we're getting an increasing number of people watching. So please continue to share this around. We will share the correct information with you when we have it. So real quick, if Owen or Brant, if one of you guys want to take over, I want to look into some further look into what's going on with this missed notification.
Okay, me and Brant will tag team.
Yeah.
All right, Nick. Well, I just want to say here. So, for what Nick was talking about, kind of recap this. There was an update to the warning, literally just right now, for the warning that we're talking about. It is a severe thunderstorm warning. It is not a tornado warning. So, whoever put that out there from the news outlet, they messed up. Quite literally, they screwed up. I'm not sure how that happened, but I'm sure they'll be getting a talking to tomorrow. But this is a severe thunderstorm warning. It remains in effect until 12:30 for northwestern Shelby County, northeastern Dart County, Auglaize, and southeastern Mercer County. So again, they're looking at this. This line is extending all the way from near Cridersville, I should say, all the way down to New Bremen, St. Henry. Moving east, they're slowing it down even further. They're moving it east now at 35 miles an hour, so they're slowing this down. You can see the trend here. The line of storms is slowing down. They're looking at basically 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It is not even tagged tornado possible at this point, so they're still saying just it's a straight severe thunderstorm warning. We are keeping a very close eye on that for you, but we're also dealing with the flooding right now. So if you're in some of the areas that are prone to flooding, I know there's flash flood warnings going across all the area. So I know one lot of the Mid-Ohio Valley. So we're continuing to watch those right now. But the severe thunderstorm warning again is not a tornado warning. So make sure that you're seeking that. Maybe share that around as well. Brant, I'll toss it over to you, and maybe you can talk about the kind of the trajectory of this over the next few minutes as it rushes off towards Lima and points to the north and to the east.
Yeah, I can do that, Owen. Let me see if I can get some software up. So, do we have this moving at 40 miles per hour?
35.
It's slowing down even more. Okay. Okay. All right. Thank you. But I do want to point out why Owen was touching on the flooding concerns. These areas were under a flash flood warning earlier, and we're adding on top of that more additional rain, and that could bring back up those flash flood concerns, any runoff that may have occurred earlier today when there wasn't any activity up here. It's hard to believe that there wasn't any activity up here because this seems to have been the hot spot today. But you're adding more rain on top of that to already soaked grounds, to already high rivers, to already high low-level areas. So you're as this rain comes through, you're going to see more and more rain, and the edge of the rain is still back in past the border into our Indiana county. So there's still plenty of rain to go. So we could very well see the flash flood concerns develop again. And Nick, I did see you put it up there. So it's currently moving at 35 miles per hour. So that's going to put it in the vicinity of Fort Shawnee around 11:58. Lima, the same time, 11:58. 3 minutes later into the Wapakoneta area around 12:01 a.m. Between 12:20 and 12:40, Ada and Kenton, that's going to be in your neck of the woods here. And if the storm continues on its current track, again, we're getting about 40 minutes out, so I'm weary of saying this right now. But if the storm would continue on its track right now, you're looking at Cary, Upper Sandusky, Tiffin, Bucyrus, and Williard later on in the next hour. So, Owen, do you have anything else to add to that?
No, and again, you got to remember tonight, we're going to see as this line moves through, it's going to kind of fan down. You're starting to see it slow down, quite literally, and it's really going to aid to the flooding as these storms are slowing down. We're talking about 60 miles an hour earlier. Now we're down to 35 miles an hour. So these are going to slow down, and as we move through the overnight hours, it can hit some of these pockets of shear and instability, and they could pop a thunderstorm and maybe even a tornado warning tonight. So that's what we're talking about. Just make sure you have a way to receive warnings overnight tonight. Again, not overhyping it. We're now kind of calming down because this storm is really kind of fanned out and is becoming more of a linear system. And QLCS was kind of mentioned from the Storm Prediction Center, which is quasi-convective linear system. which sometimes forms these brief tornadoes, especially at night. They're very weak, but they can happen very quickly as well. So they're going to err on the side of caution on some of these. But again, just a severe thunderstorm warning, and right now I'm saying that it's probably even calmed down from that. I think the wind speeds have really kind of died down from this. Compared to where they once were just a few minutes ago. So that's a very good sign. These are weakening for the time being. But again, as we say, don't let your guard down. Be prepared and be ready to go in case there was something issued. Nick, are you back with us yet?
Yeah, I'm good. So one other point I want to bring out, I'm watching a cell down in Shelby County near the community of Sydney. Terminal Doppler suggesting some severe level winds could be beginning to increase. It's coming right up I-75 toward the community of Anna. It is just to the north of Sydney, west of Port Jefferson. It's kind of isolated out there by itself, and it's kind of ahead of everything else, but it is starting to look like it might begin to congeal into the main line. So we'll watch that. Anytime these cells are kind of out there and kind of by themselves a little bit, we get a little bit concerned. We take a look at the overall structure. Again, it's not overly concerning. A little bit of hail could be trying to develop there, but anytime we get something out ahead of the main line, I always get a little bit more concerned because sometimes we can get some extra instability and whatnot there. So while we have a minute and things have kind of calmed down at least temporarily, I do want to bounce down to the south and kind of bounce around a little bit, kind of give a quick update, and then we'll come back and check on our warnings. So let's jump down to Dayton and Cincinnati. These cells here, much weaker in nature. Now, there are several pockets of very heavy rain. Probably going to see some lightning. Maybe even see a brief gust of wind. But I will say that this is looking much weaker in nature than what we're seeing off to the north or even to the south of this. So this is kind of in between. So those of you Dayton, Cincinnati, your severe threat's not necessarily over, but it is much lower. Now, my concern, though, is that we could see a few of these individual little cells or these little segments could pop a quick warning or two. But again, the threat right now not looking very high. We'll watch that, though. So that's Dayton up towards Springfield, Hamilton, and then down to Cincinnati. This area not looking terrible right now, but you're going to see a lot of very heavy rain, ponding of water on roadways. The next area of concern we'll watch for warnings is down in north central Kentucky, up I-75 and I-71. That may clip Cincinnati, but that is the only other area of concern right now for warnings. Owen, we can bounce up to your area. We're seeing some thunderstorms along the turnpike, and that's actually kind of right along the warm front. We haven't really talked about that in a while, but we're seeing some new development there, and looks like your house might be getting in on some rain finally.
Yeah, it's raining outside right now, Nick, and a couple thunder strikes there, lightning strikes have happened. Nothing too crazy. I will say, Nick, in the storm, as you were talking about Sydney, over the last couple of minutes, I've kind of stayed focused in on an area in the very southern tip of Auglaize County, just outside of Minster and south of Chickasaw, I should say. I'm watching that area closely because it kind of has a little bit of a hook to it. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Again, they do have this tagged as tornado possible, so we are keeping a close eye. So if you're in Minster, Fort Laramie, New Bremen, I should say, Chickasaw, Osgood, just keep an eye here to your phones and make sure that you have a way if they were to issue anything. So I'm watching that area with rotation. It's broad at this point, but it looks like it's starting to tighten up just a bit. So that sometimes, as you were alluding to, out ahead of that line, we're kind of watching both of those together, and kind of has a little bit of an inflow notch coming into the Minster area. So we're keeping an eye on that one too as well, Nick.
Yeah, real quick, I just flipped over to the terminal Doppler out of Dayton. Real quick, Owen, this is actually kind of a cool feature. So we're watching that cell north of Sydney. You can see the bright yellows. Those are winds over 50, maybe even getting close to 60 miles per hour. But from Minster up towards Wapakoneta, look how very easily defined. You can pick out right where the straight line winds or the gustiest winds would be right on the leading edge of that rain. We don't always see a velocity picture like that. I just thought that was kind of neat. And again, very clear definition of where that wind and the heavier rain starts, right there where the reds turn to greens.
Oh, absolutely, and I think right there on your screen, Nick, on that latest scan just outside of Minster in that area, you're starting to see some of that, but you can clearly see that, and again, the flooding right now is just amazing. We're starting to see, like you said, Nick, almost 10 inches in Columbus, and I know up here we've had a lot. I know right now in Flushing, Ohio, The emergency management agency is reporting there that there's cars underwater, and the fire departments are responding to rescue cars there. So our thoughts go out to those people in the other part of the state, in Flushing, Ohio, right now. So that flooding is a big concern too. That's, to me, is going to take a lot more lives in this event than maybe the severe thunderstorm warning, because again, you got to turn around, don't drown. Do not attempt to drive through flooded waters. It is just a terrible move. And then not only on top of that, you put everybody else in danger as well who's got to rescue you. So just don't do that. As we move through the next day or so. And on top of all of this, Nick, tomorrow it's going to get very windy. So I wouldn't be surprised in some of these areas, Nick, as we get these winds going about 50 miles an hour tomorrow, you might see some trees just want to topple over because the ground is just so saturated. You might see some minor wind damage because of that. So you might see some trees that just kind of come down because of the saturated ground is saturated so much that with a little bit of wind, it's amazing what can happen with some of these trees and kind of uproot them almost.
And
so
that,
keep an eye on that.
Also power. Power could be a concern because if those trees come down on power lines or even power lines themselves, they're very deep in the ground. But when the ground is saturated like this, it doesn't take a lot to, as you said, Owen, to start knocking things over. So, I mean, power outage, make sure everything's charged tomorrow. Charge your battery packs, charge everything you might need to generate power because tomorrow could be very difficult for a lot of people.
They just updated the warning. Dark and Mercer counties, they've canceled the warning there, so they have updated the warning now. And also they issued an aerial flood advisory for Auglaize County, not a big surprise, because they're seeing so much rain in this particular area. And as Nick, as we've been saying with each update, the storm itself is literally slowing down. We were at 60 and 70 miles an hour. We dropped down to 40, and now we're at 35. So it is slowing down significantly. It's kind of come almost to a halt. And some of this rain is kind of almost going into a training situation, which means repeating for some of these areas. It's moving very, very slowly through these areas and putting a lot of rain down in a short period of time.
Yeah, and real quick, those of you in Lima, I know that is we have at least 2,000 fans that have liked our page from Lima, so we're getting a lot of questions. Very heavy rain coming through now. We're very well represented. We appreciate that. Maybe some small hail between Cairo, I got that town pronounced correctly this time, and they're in between there and Lima, so we'll watch that pretty closely. But again, things definitely on the downward trend. We're still seeing a lot of people watching, hundreds of you watching. That's dedication. We appreciate that. Again, no tornado warnings. I still want to stress that. Not what we're seeing out there tonight. So we'll kind of let's jump down to Cincinnati real quick. We do have a warning right on the border. Brant, I would imagine you've probably been watching this one. I've not even had a chance to look at it.
Yeah, I have had try again. Long day, folks. So just bear with us as we try to get our footing here because we've been tracking this stuff for about 12 hours now. So, kind of getting on the edge. But no, this storm is continuing to move at 60 miles per hour to the east northeast. Nick, as you said, if this continues, it's just below Hamilton and Claremont counties right now, and Kenton and Campbell. The actual storm itself is right on the border of Indiana and Kentucky, where that hail cell that prompted the warning. I've been watching it a bit. It's kind of been fluctuating in and out with like a lot of these storms that we've been watching tonight. But it seems like, and I'm trying to get a better view because we do have a terminal Doppler radar down there, and I'm trying to access that real quick because this is rapidly approaching that radar site, and the winds are not as strong as they could be, but still some strong wind and some hail within that storm as it continues to head east-northeast, Nick.
Yeah, and so we just got a comment from Wapakoneta. They said that it's storming, but this is nothing. So that's a good indication, Owen, that we talked about the storm slowing down. Quite literally, it's slowing down. But to folks in Wapakoneta saying this isn't very bad right now, other than some heavy rain. I still think there's some pretty strong winds, though, east of I-75 with that individual cell coming up out of Shelby County. Looks like it's going to graze Logan and portions of Auglaize County, but overall things definitely looking a lot better.
A lot better, Nick. I would agree with you there. I think things are finally kind of on the downtrend. They did just issue a special weather statement, though, for Putnam County, Henry, we'll do it again. Putnam County, Henry County, Allen County, and southeastern Fulton County. They're issued a a special weather statement. I'll get it out eventually. for a strong storm moving in that area. So that's always the first step before they issue usually a warning on that. So what they're saying is these storms could re-intensify, so make sure that you, again, have a way to receive a warning here over the next few minutes if the storm were to intensify. Again, but be it all means, this is fanned out very nicely, if you will, and it's quieting down just a touch. But we are keeping an area, over Lima right now. You might be seeing some small hail, especially if you're in the northern part of Lima, just south of US 30 there by Elida, just outside of Elida. I know that area very well, in the Lima area as you're going in there. So you might see a little bit of hail. There's some deep purples in that area, so we're keeping an eye on that as well. And a little bit of an inflow notch in the backside, so not too concerned at this point for some rotation, but we are keeping an eye on that. Anytime we see that kind of inflow notch, we do, and it starts to bow out just a bit, we do kind of start to look at it a little bit more. So I'm paying close attention to that as well, but nothing overly concerning at the moment. Just some small hail there in Lima, so hopefully that will be it, and it will push off to the east and again continue to fan out. Hopefully it turns into more of a rain event tonight than anything, Nick.
Ken McNatt just shared a neat image on Ohio News and Weather. You can actually watch us on your Facebook Watch app or your Amazon Fire Stick. He actually just shared this. If you search for Ohio News and Weather on the Facebook app, you can watch our live video. It is actually pinned right now at the top of the page, and you can actually, it looks like that's how he may actually be watching us right now, is there either on his looks like that'll probably be his Amazon Fire Stick. So something else to kind of keep in mind, if you have multiple devices to stream with, great opportunity, and I've never even have thought of that. So thank you for that, Ken. That's some pretty cool stuff there. I did not know that you got that to work. So that'll be a very valuable source of information for future events for sure. So very cool to see that. Again, you can watch us there on Amazon Fire Stick. Just make sure you're getting on that Facebook app and searching Ohio News and Weather. This way you can leave your cell phone free and you can talk to your friends and text your friends without having to watch a Facebook Live video in between that. So kind of cool to see that. So again, overall, things are on the downward trend. We may not stay live too much longer, again, just because of the fact things have definitely calmed down. Again, still want to reiterate, no tornado warnings, none of that right now, and I don't know that we're going to see anything like that, at least here in the near term. We'll have to watch and see how things pan out. Flooding-wise, still a big issue. Basically, if you live east of I-77 tonight, it is likely flooded out. I-70, several reports of water rescues. Even in Licking County, a lot of water rescue reports. And Auglaize County, this is your second flood advisory of the day. So I would definitely suspect that we're going to see some flooded roadways. Please take it easy tonight. Brant, we never want you driving through floodwaters, and even at night is even more dangerous because we cannot see how deep the water is until you're already in the water. That's not what we want to see.
Yeah, and even if you were to get out and test the water and see how deep it was, you're putting yourself at risk of any debris in the water or anything that might be underneath, or any animals that might be underneath, so that's never a good idea. And as Owen alluded to earlier, he did mention that the fire departments across the area that we're watching right now is performing water rescues. And as you're driving in your car, if the road hasn't already been closed, some people would, go for it, and those are the people that are going to need water rescue, because you are going to get trapped. If it doesn't take a lot of water to lift your car off the ground and start to move it, so it's never ever a good idea to travel in flooded roadways. And as we say, Nick, there's a saying that goes around, and it's turn around, don't drown. And we say that for a reason, because a lot of injuries occur from people trying to drive through flooded roadways and try to get to where they're going. That's not a good idea.
Don't do it. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, and especially in the crisis we're in with the healthcare crisis and the COVID-19, don't do it. I mean, the sheriff's department or whoever has control of that scene probably is going to ticket you for, or give you criminal charges for being out anyway. So if you're violating that stay-at-home order, so if you're just out there having fun, they're probably going to go ahead and write that up for you and charge you with, and actually some of the things on that we were discussing, they can charge you pretty severely for that, for obeying an order in an emergency, and there's some other language that they can use, but just don't do it.
Yeah, and And Owen, I would tend to agree with you that, and we're trying not to change the subject here, but with everything that's going on in the world right now in our state, EM.
There, Brant, are you still there?
Yeah, he just faded away.
If you
Yep,
you
there
going,
he is.
He's back.
can you hear me? Okay, all right. As I was just saying, Owen, I like where you were going with that. Fire and EMS and police might be already strained due to what's going on in the world. We're not trying to change the subject or anything, but you going out there and potentially putting yourself in harm's way and needing rescue is putting more strain on the resources that are already strained to their max. So just do us a favor. Just stay at home tonight. Stay weather alert, and tomorrow's a new day. So.
Also, just a couple things too that I'm picking up on here. Is there's some strong winds coming off the terminal Doppler just northwest of Russell's Point, just north of Jackson Center, moving into the southern part of Waynesfield right now. So I'm picking up winds well into the 70s. Some of it's inside the warning, some of it's not. So make sure if you live out in that rural area, that's a pretty intense area of strong winds. I wouldn't be surprised maybe if they issue another warning out ahead of that, because that is some strong winds right now, and I think they just put out a special weather statement for that. As a matter of fact, they did for Hardin County, Logan County, and they're watching that just like we are as well. So we're watching that, and again, we're continuing to watch the area north of Lima. I don't think we're going to get anything out of that, but continuing to watch that area. I know on terminal it's showing some things, but I'm not exactly sure that's accurate. But in Waynesfield, in the southern part of Waynesfield there, I think in Auglaize County, as it pushes off towards Hardin County and maybe clips part of southwestern or southeastern Allen County, that's definitely some strong winds there. Wouldn't be surprised to see a warning maybe issued for that as we move off to the northeast, Nick.
Yeah, so I've got the terminal Doppler pulled up just for reference. So again, here's US 33 that runs from St. John's. It runs east. Right here is the intersection where you have the little town of New Hampshire. Again, there's a tractor distribution center there. There's a one traffic light, very small town. You blink, you miss it kind of town. And then you can move south towards Lakeview to go to Indian Lake, where you could turn left to go to Waynesfield. You can turn right and go over towards the community of Roundhead, which is off Route 117. However, again, where Owen is saying we're seeing the winds up to 70 miles per hour potentially, it's these very bright, vivid yellows. You can't miss this on the screen right now. Again, part of it's in the warning, part of it is not. And the latest scan, wanting to now, it looks like it's going to end up getting absorbed into that, what's left of the main line, and then likely move off into Hardin County. That's why we have that special weather statement in effect. Again, I just wanted to kind of talk about where that was in specific, just for geographical reference. There's a look at the reflectivity. Again, that's moving through and moving out. And I know we still have quite a few people watching, so we appreciate that. Again, we're not going to stay live for much longer. We will start to wind things down, but understand that if we do see more warnings, we'll be right back. I'm not going anywhere tonight. I've got caffeine. I'm good to go. I know Owen said he's staying up late. I'm sure Brant is also. Actually, Brant told me he's going to stay up late. So we're all here. Ken's in the comment section too, and Zach is probably going to start driving back from Illinois soon. So I'm sure if we needed, we could probably even get him in here if it came down to a worst case scenario. So the full team is here. I saw Kyle Adams even was checking on a couple things too. So we're all here watching it for you. We got a full team, lots of experience, lots of dedication. And we'll make sure that you guys are all safe. We do this for fun. We like doing this. Keeping you safe is our number one priority. We do this for volunteering. So this is kind of what we do. We'll kind of wrap things up. I do want to look at Cincinnati one last time, and then I think we can probably kind of start to wind things down here just a little bit. So Cincinnati, if you're on the southeastern side of town, this is a pretty nasty storm, likely just, again, mainly some damaging wind threat. They don't have it tagged as tornado possible, so that's kind of where we're watching that now. That'll be sliding into southeastern Hamilton County, portions of Claremont County, Forestville, Covington, Owensville. Oh, and we've got an Owen County, Indiana. We've got an Owen County here, and you've got a town named for you, it looks like. So you're a very popular person out there across the Ohio Valley. So that'll be coming through there and eventually maybe likely through downtown Cincinnati and points east up towards Blue Ash and Mulberry. Not going to put a track on that right now. I want to see if that's going to maintain severity. And again, unless we really need to come back live tonight, we probably won't. We'll still do some radar updates in between. That's just kind of where things stand. I know I was caught to look at the line here from Logan down into Champaign and Clark County down US 68. Just a heavy rain threat. Not worried about winds on that. Watching west of Wilmington. Again, any one of these individual little cells or segments, again, they could pop a quick warning, but I don't expect it to be widespread, and it's not going to be one of these things where we get a warning one after another, after another, after another. I think we're going to definitely start to see the amount of warnings we get tonight kind of start to trend in the downward direction. And the good news is, outside of northern Ohio along the turnpike and here along 75, we're fairly dry elsewhere, which that's some good news. We could definitely use some dry time. We got a new warning there too. Owen, you called this one out. This is going to be for what we saw there on terminal Doppler.
Absolutely. That warning now goes until 12:45, so they got it going there. Just a severe thunderstorm warning. It's not tagged tornado, so that's a good thing. And winds at 60 miles an hour, and maybe some hail that we're looking at there as well. Some possible small hail that they're looking at. So this warning is for northwestern Logan County, northeastern Auglaize County, and Hardin County until 12:45. Located right near Waynesfield, just like we showed you just a few moments ago. 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts is what we're seeing, at least on radar, and expect damage to trees and power lines. So just make sure that you move to an interior room on the lowest floor of your house or wherever that you might be at this time. So yeah, kind of a good call there, Nick. I expected that. We all expected that there on terminal. Definitely some winds at the surface, probably over 60. And one of the things, keep in mind, too, what we're showing you, by the way, a lot of people don't understand this, too. These wind speeds that are estimated by radar are not at the surface, so they're not at the ground level where you're standing. These are up into the atmosphere, and in some cases, this can be several hundred feet or 1,000 feet above your head. So that's the estimated wind speeds above your head. So pushing it down to the surface is going to be a lot lower, or it's going to be several miles per hour or kilometers lower as we talk about in weather. So at the surface, these may not exactly be like we're seeing on radar 70 miles an hour, but the surface they very well could be right around 50 to 60 miles an hour, which is the severe criteria. Nick?
Yeah, just looking at a couple other things there, continuing the warning south of Cincinnati. But again, guys, for the time being, we're going to gather our thoughts. We're not leaving you because we don't care about you, but we need to gather our thoughts a little bit, do a quick little reset, talk about some things. Severe threats somewhat winding down for the time being. If we start to see an increase in warnings, we'll come back live and talk to you if need be. And this will also give us an opportunity that if we do get more warnings, we can go live across more of our pages, and particularly up with Kyle Adams if any more warnings were to be issued up in his neck of the woods. He's going to get a rude awakening about probably 12:30, 12:45 if he's asleep right now. They're on the southwestern side of Findlay. Some really heavy rain, thunder, lightning, maybe even some small hail and gusty winds coming up his way, so he might wake up and talk to us for a little bit as well. So, but again, for right now, fairly sub-severe activity. Again, unless you live near Lima over towards Kenton or down towards Cincinnati, those are the only two areas of concern. So, Brant or Owen, if you guys have anything else to say, you can go ahead and say it now. Otherwise, we'll wrap things up.
Speak now or forever hold your peace. No. No, I have nothing else to say. I do have one thing. As Owen was alluding to earlier, the trees and the wind coming through can knock down, or the trees coming through, sorry. It's been a long day. The winds coming through can knock down trees and power lines, especially up in the Hardin and Logan County area where I mentioned we did have earlier flash flood warnings. So the ground is already saturated, and as the winds come through, that can knock down power lines and trees and make it very difficult for you with no power. So just be prepared for that and stay indoors.
Now, one final thing I'll say, Nick. Some people ask why does it seem like the storms always hit at night? Kind of they don't. I mean, a lot of times they hit in the daytime. But to answer that question, I always talk about this peak time. If you ever watch our broadcast, I always talk about that peak time, and it's basically like 10 to 1 in the morning is when we see that peak atmosphere and that peak time when things really ramp up, and a lot of that has to deal with cooling. So when you're looking at this, things heat up all day, so it's kind of like a boiling pot. Things heat up all day and heat rises, right? We all know that heat rises, or we should know that heat rises. And as that heat builds up into the atmosphere, the ground does not cool. At the surface, the ground does not cool as fast as we get into the nighttime hours because it contains more humidity. And as that happens, we have a little bit of a gradient there, and things continue to it has to escape. That heat has to escape somewhere, so it collides with that cooler air at the surface most generally, and then boom, that's when we see most of this action. So when we see the warm air and cool air collide, that's kind of why you're seeing a lot of these storms in that prime time, or those peak hours that we're looking at, right around 10 to 1 at night, particularly because the sun starts to set and things are starting to be nice and juicy, and then basically as we get later on in the overnight hours, it kind of cools off slowly, and you can kind of see what happened. We were primed up as those storms were moving about 60 miles an hour. We were primed up, and then all of a sudden, finally, it hit some cooler air, and things have slowed down just a little bit, and we're just having some nice rain because the air and humidity, we have a lot of saturation in the air. So just a quick explanation there. I guess we're going back to school just a little bit, Nick, and that's it here from Sandusky County.
Nothing wrong with a little bit of schooling, even though it is almost 12:30 in the morning. Everybody can still retain that information. That's some good stuff. I saw some comments there saying thanks for the helpful stuff, so that's good news there. So, again, go ahead.
Schools are closed across Ohio, so a little school doesn't hurt anybody.
Exactly.
Absolutely. So, and again, we know with everything going on, the threat of severe weather just kind of adding more fear, more concerns, more worries. Trust us, not going to be a widespread event tonight. I know the Storm Prediction Center kind of increased our probabilities tonight, but I don't foresee that coming to fruition. If it does, well, then maybe somebody can say something to me about that. I'm sure I'll probably hear about that if something else happens. But we'll see how things go. But for the meantime, everything's staying mainly sub-severe. That doesn't mean you're not going to see a lot of lightning. That doesn't mean you're not going to hear several loud claps of thunder or several rounds of heavy rain. You're still going to get that, but it just may not be of severe criteria, meaning winds of 58 miles per hour or greater, or hail of 1 inch in diameter or larger, or obviously a tornado. So other threat tonight for heavy rain, watch out for that. Some flash flood watches along and north of I-70 through tomorrow morning. We'll keep an eye on things here for you. So for Brant and Circleville, Owen up in Clyde. Yeah, go ahead, Brant.
No, I will say that point he wants to bring up here. I believe there's a bell or a notification setting that you can set for when we post and go live. That would be very helpful. If I know we're heading into the overnight hours, so a lot of you are probably heading toward bedtime. But I will say that if you set that notification bell button, it will alert you when we go live and alert you to any potential hazards that you may face throughout the night. So, Nick, I'll toss back to you. I'm sorry, that was just a little thing I wanted to throw in there.
Yeah, I can let's show you that real quick on how to do that. Good point, Owen. So real quick, and then we'll wrap things up. So how does this work? So right now, you're looking at the page as if it was me. So I'll switch it over to as if I was a visitor, just like that's what you guys are. You guys are all visitors and fans, and we appreciate that. So how you do this, here in the following section, if you're following us, that's great. You can manage your notifications. Make sure we are set to see first, and notifications on. Make sure you can see that. You'll get notifications anytime we post, whether it be something updated to the virus that's going around, whether it be severe weather related, our 7-day forecasts, everything. You'll get notifications for that. Also over here, this is the liked button. First off, make sure you have that liked. It should, if you're on the desktop version, it looks like this. Mobile version's a little different, but just make sure that both the liked and the following tabs are selected. We do have more followers than likes. That's not a bad thing necessarily, but again, just make sure that you are following us on both sides there. That's just kind of a quick explanation on how that works. So with that, we will I'll send things back here to our radar, and that's kind of where things stand there. So we'll watch things closely, and again, if we need to come back live again tonight, we will. I don't foresee this being a big deal, but of course that's why we're here. We'll be up watching, and you guys, I'm sure those of you that are into the weather, you'll watch with us too. So for Brant down in Circleville and Owen up in Fremont, Clyde, and Sandusky County, I'm Nick Dunn here from Columbus. Stay tuned, and we'll keep you updated on everything that's going on out there for the rest of the night, whether it be live or some Facebook posts. So with that, have a good night, everybody. Stay safe. When thunder roars, get indoors. Don't drive through floodwaters. Turn around, don't drown. And make sure you have ways to receive warnings tonight. Thanks for watching.